Hello and welcome to today's product update webinar for Just Planet. As always, preliminary information. This is a GoToWebinar, so all attendees are automatically muted to prohibit any background noises. If you do have questions, please ask them via the Intool chat box and we will go on and try to answer them. As always, I am Jan Vierguts. I am the development lead for Just Planet. And let's take a look what happened. So this release was originally published on March 7th of this year, but we had to re-roll after significant influx of issues and has now been republished on May 16th. So first of all, for that re-roll and the incomplete release, we do want to offer an apology. We had to re-roll the original release because a lot of people found issues that we in development did not see when testing. But we took those findings to heart, not only fixing them, but also completely restructuring how we do our testing and changed the way of developing and releasing to make sure that this isn't happening again. And we promise to strive for betterment. So thank you all for your patience with us and this release in specific. And let's see what this release actually entails. So what we did is we changed and upgraded a lot of things, and I'm categorizing this here into 4 areas. We changed our internal logging, we changed our backend structure, and we changed how updates are interpreted, and the visualization is updated. Our internal logging is now being dramatically enhanced in terms of breadth and depth. We added a lot of new internal functionality to try to catch issues earlier in development and increase the amount of error logging throughout the system so that if something happens, we will always have a place to take a look what happens, what could be the possible causes. This is one of the major learnings we took from the failed release in the beginning of March, or in the beginning of throughout March, and are now internalizing that with extended logging capabilities. But we also changed our infrastructure, and that was also necessary because our old infrastructure was a managed system, prohibiting us from using all the available resources for scheduling. So we increase our performance here by also switching the way how our backend is hosted. And this new infrastructure that we built is capable of handling a lot more clients simultaneously with larger data sets overall, has an increased stability as we are now able, with the greater administrative control that we have, to take care that even if something happens, nothing is happening to block the server entirely, which was something that might have happened in the old structure. We also made the differences between your updates relevant for our backend. So we separated those into scheduling relevant and non-scheduling relevant changes. Examples for scheduling relevant changes are, for example, the creation, deletion, or change of work times, calendar exceptions, the creation of new jobs, the change of runtime, so the setup time, the teardown time, even the transfer time. Anything that has a direct impact on the placement of any given task is scheduling relevant. On the other hand, there are also changes that do not impact the schedule at all. For example, names, custom fields, notes, the sales field on the job. All of these, while important for categorizing for information, have no real relevancy for the scheduling algorithm. But before this entire update in the first, now nearly half of the year, everything caused a complete run of the scheduling engine. And with this update, we now don't do this because this allows us to forgo unnecessary runs of the scheduling engine here. And the fourth thing that we did is we updated how we update our visualization. Our old approach was to throw everything away that we had and start to redraw everything from scratch. this is happening on your browser, and therefore it's significantly slower as our new approach. Because in our new approach, what we do is we get the changes from the server, see what the changes are between the old state on client and the new information we get from the server, and only redraw what actually changed. This actually necessitated us to rework most of how the front-end client works, and was the biggest factor in the rollback, because here are a lot of links and niches that need to be working in correct tandem together. And this is where we had our biggest drop off in, or our biggest flaw when redoing everything. But with this, we also capitalize on some new functionalities of our internal visualization. So everything you see in the Gantt chart is a product is made visual by a product from Medtronic called the VSW, and this has some very nice functionality that allows us to actually do this new approach. But now enough with all the talk about what we did change. Let's see what actually comes out of it. And first of all, let's take a look at some numbers. So what you see here is a sample set of measurements that we took. And those are 9 sample customers that are actual customers of ours. So it might be that your data set is represented here, but of course everything is anonymized here. And what you see here, by going through the data, you see the amount in milliseconds that it took before, or start of in January, before we did the performance update, and the amount in milliseconds it took afterwards. And as you can see in this third column, this is the difference in percent. And if it would be negative, it would be red. But as we can already see, it's mostly positive, or it's positive everywhere. And if we actually take a quick look at some of the numbers, we can see, for example, this is one of the largest data sets that we have. It took 6.5 or 6.7 seconds to actually do the update beforehand, and now takes less than 2. And even the already quick updates got even faster. So this is, of course, this first table is just for non-scheduling relevant changes. So what we are taking a look here at is for example, the job name. But you can see this is overall everywhere with the averages. We got an extreme performance boost by the categorization and the update of the visualization. But now let's take a look at scheduling relevant changes, as these are not impacted by the differentiation, but mainly by the visualization. Because every scheduling relevant change has the usual impact on more than one task, more stuff needs to be redrawn. And this is why the upgrades for or the performance boosts for the scheduling relevant changes are a bit less. But still, as you can see, we make significant increases throughout everything also here. This leads us to a very nice increase of, in total, roughly 58% on average, which is, I believe, a good thing. And to drive home that point, let's take a quick look into Just Planet. So what we can see here is a medium-sized account, and let's take a look at a scheduling relevant change just to make sure. I'm going to set a time constraint. We're in the drop view here, and as you can see, this took, well, we can actually take a look. This took less than 3 seconds. This is something that all of you can do by pressing F12 and then opening the developer console, because since the update we push out timings so that we can see if and where anything erroneous might happen. So setting this time constraint on a mid-size account usually took 6 to 8 seconds, and we're now down to less than 4. But this isn't the most impressive thing. It's cutting it in half, but what I find a bit more impressive is if I go ahead and change just the text fields. And it doesn't matter how many text fields I change, because this is all still impacting only one job. So I've now changed the name of this job, the customer it belongs to, or sorry, I wanted to change the customer it belongs to. I changed the job node and I changed a custom field. And if I now hit OK, it's done. This took less than a second to update, and that is because, as I said earlier, it only updated this job. It did not have any impact here. So as you can see, the non-scheduling relevant changes are extremely fast, and these also include the shop floor, setting shop floor data. The scheduling relevant changes are cut in half. So I think even if it took us longer than we would have liked, we delivered something that has value for all of us, and hope going forward this will keep the same. So again, sorry for the delay in delivering this. Hopefully the results are as great as for you as we expect them to be. If there are any questions, feel free to post them in the chat or in the question part of the GoToWebinar. I will stay here for a couple of minutes and try to answer them. Otherwise, I'm really excited to tell you that we're going back into feature enhancements now and working on some very interesting stuff, and wish you a good day and talk to you soon. Bye.